Hello everybody, Wong here. Today's video is going to be a tier list because I now have 1,000 kills on every single gun and I wanted to make a tier list. Here is the proof. Now, I've got a few things to clarify. First of all, I did 500 kills with every gun a long time ago, back when the game sort of first came out. So, I know all these say 500, but it is 1,000 because I already had 500. And even some of the ones back then, I had 1,000 on them anyways. Like the AUG, for example, I had 1,300. So yeah, this is from all the way back then. And then I also have some screenshots here that are more recent with the grey ones. These are the ones I've gotten sort of post-prestige. Because back then when you prestiged, it would reset your kills. And that's why all these kills are only 500. So I've got another thing to say about it, and that is that you might notice that the Groza and the Vector have less than 500, and that's because I already had the extra kills on them. And honestly, if I forgot, this is gonna sound stupid, if you see all these ones with blue backgrounds, back then I also had 500 on all of the PDWs, and I forgot to take a screenshot, so I had to redo all of them. And honestly, I couldn't be bothered getting the last 30, but I am 1,472 kills with the Groza, probably even more to be honest. And then with the Vector I already had extra kills. I think you can even see that in my video maybe, but I already had the extra, so I just wanted to get this video out kind of ASAP because people have been asking for a tier list. And yeah, here's the proof. I do have 1,000 on all of them. And yeah, I only have 1,000 on a few of the snipers, but I'm not going to be including them. I will put them in the tier list because I do know what I think about them, but yeah, anyways, this is the clarification. Here's the proof that I have 1,000 kills on them all. Here's like the screenshot. Another thing I wanted to mention before the video begins was I quickly wanted to do some clarifying as to why you guys might disagree with some of the opinions I have, but I want to talk about how when we have discussions about guns in BattleBit, it's not simple, it's not always simple. Like for instance here, this is just an example, there's many other examples like this in the game, but here's an example of the Groza and the AK-5C have the same damage per bullet, but the Groza shoots faster than the AK-5C. So the Groza should kill quicker than the AK-5C. That is true. In reality, it should. The only other downsides you might have are like recoil and things, but as we see, the recoil is way better. But the first shot kick is not better. Now that means that I generally hit my first shot with the Groza, and then because I personally as a player cannot control that first shot kick to hit my second shot, meaning that I hit my first shot, will miss my second shot, and then hit my third and fourth. Actually making the Groza kill slower for me, only for me. You guys might have the same thing, you might not, but just for this example, I do not. But for me, the Groza kills slower than the AK-5C. And you might be thinking, okay, yeah, that's true, but I still think the Groza is better because I don't do that. And that's true, that is true. I think the best of the best players could be better with the Groza. You know, for me, the first shot kick makes me kill slower with it. Another thing is people might go, oh, well, the low recoil means the Groza's way better range. I think the Groza does have really good range due to its recoil. But if we look at the damage drop-off charts, the AK-5C at 150 meters is doing much more damage than the Groza at 150, and the velocity on the AK-5C is also faster. And for me, velocity is a big thing. I'm really bad at leading shots with low velocity. So for me, the AK-5C ends up feeling way better in just so many regards to the Groza. The recoil is also slightly longer, or the reload time even. I always do fast reloads, and the fast reload for the AK-5C is faster than the Groza. So we have a situation here where if someone said, no, I think the Groza's better, and then named all the reasons, I couldn't say anything. It's just true, the Groza could be better. But my personal gameplay, my personal faults make the AK-5C better for me. I'll try my hardest to name all the situations that are like that in my tier list where I think that my personal performance for a gun adds a bias. I'll try to mention that any times it's applicable. I might miss some. I thought I'd mention that just before we begin the tier list. Alrighty, so this video is going to be like a little bit less like formal than usual and not as like heavy on the editing, but I really just wanted to like do it now, like do a tier list. I've done one already just as like kind of a semi-practice, and like I just found myself switching because honestly the balance in this game is really good right now and a lot of guns can perform really well. Anyways, yeah, let's just get into it. First things first, I'm going to do the snipers because I just already kind of know where they're going to be, and I'm just really quickly gonna choose where to put them. Okay, so M200 is obviously S tier. It can pen through every single helmet, meaning it always has the potential for a one shot, and also its velocity is really high, meaning that the shot itself is easier to hit than other gun. The L96 and the MSR are pretty much better at everything else than the other snipers. I would put the L96 above the MSR because with a short mag you get so many good benefits, but they bolt really quick. The Remington, I put it here purely because it feels better than the other two. I don't exactly know why, but it also sounds cooler, so you can check that in B tier. SU98 in C tier because it's not as good as the Remington, but it's a little bit better than the SSG. Gonna have a video about this gun coming out pretty soon because there's something people are missing. SSG 69 has a 20 round mag, but I don't run that 20 rounder anymore. I used to back before the slowdown changes, but I haven't honestly tried it really since the attachments slow you down. But the 20 rounder I do think is underrated. But anyways, let's move on. So, all the other guns. I'm gonna first of all rank a gun that I think everybody can agree P90 is S tier. And the reason the P90 is S tier is, for me especially as well, like when I used it, I noticed this. I just found myself being able to kill at a pace that was really good at a lot of ranges. And I never ever had to think of downsides with the P90. The only downside I ever thought of was one time my horizontal recoil wasn't as good as I wanted, and I just switched the barrel and it was fine. So yeah, the P90 is going in S tier. I think that it's easily the best gun in the game because it's just so good at so many things. If they nerfed a few particular things about it, it probably wouldn't be the best gun in the game anymore. A patch is coming out pretty soon where its damage drop-off's being nerfed. Maybe it won't be the best after this. I'll do another tier list in maybe like a few weeks or so after trying out all the new guns and things. But yeah, no, the P90 is S tier. It's really good. If I'm talking about kills per minute, this is really a kills per minute tier list really for me, like my personal kills per minute with all of these guns, and the P90 was an S tier. Another gun that was an S tier was the FAL. This gun was crazy good. Now, I was having a conversation with someone a few days ago and I fully agreed that the P90 is S tier for shredding multiple people and being in a good position. The FAL is really good for just straight up winning 1v1s because its time to kill is so fast at so many ranges. I think that the FAL for me was a bit different to the P90 in the way where I would kill one person over and over again in a row. Whereas the P90, I would kill a bunch of people in one go. Whereas the FAL was just, I can take a 1v1 against people all the way up to like 200 meters and just win. Which was super fantastic. Multiple people, maybe not. Only has a 20 round mag. But it's straight up raw DPS is just so good that it's going in S tier. I found myself using this and just feeling invincible because I could just win every gunfight. The only problem was when I started coming up against multiple people. That's, for me, I found was easily supplemented by movement around cover and things, like just made it really easy to do 1vx situations instead of just 1v1s. So anyways, yeah, I think the FAL's S tier, I think it's really good. I think that L86 is S tier. I think that if it wasn't on support, it would be the best gun out of these top few. I actually would even put it above, I don't know. I probably would even put it above the P90. The L86 with the heavy barrel actually kills only slightly slower than the Evo Scorpion, which if you know, that gun kills, that's the fastest in the game. L86 is second, only by a small margin with the heavy barrel. Yeah, the L86 is really good. I think that it's only good because of the heavy barrel. Apart from that, it's okay. It's not fantastic. I would put it in the similar category to like the ACR or something, maybe even a little better than that, to be honest. But yeah, the L86 is really good right now, and it's getting a nerf for a good reason. The only reason it's not broken right now is because not many players play support, so not enough players have discovered how OP the L86 actually is. I'm making this video now, it's getting a nerf, so it's totally fine, but okay, so that's another easy S tier. I'm trying to think of more S tiers. M110's S tier right now, in my opinion. I think that's an easy S tier. I think that it just competes so well at so many ranges that it's just ridiculous. I definitely think it should be nerfed at least a little bit. Honestly, it's kind of like the L86 where it might not be a hot ticket item because there's not a whole lot of players who are actually using the M110 in the way where it's OP. It was really good before the patch too, or it was good enough in my opinion with the heavy barrel, but I just didn't want to have to unlock the heavy barrel. But anyways, no, so the M110 is S tier, just kills really good at so many ranges. I'm trying to think of any other S tiers here because there are so many good guns in the game right now. No, yeah, I think that's all the S tiers, to be honest. Oh my gosh. Probably the MP7 as well, honestly. I feel like the MP7 is in a weird spot where I think it just scrapes into S tier because it's really good, first of all. Good time to kill. The reload speed people say is really slow, but it's not too bad considering the time to kill. Yeah, I think the MP7 competes at a lot of ranges against a lot of guns and you could do really good with that gun. I think that the MP5 is also really good and I think it's comparable to the MP7 and obviously comparable to the P90. I think that I could not put it in S tier when the P90 exists, because right now the P90 is the MP5 without the MP5's downsides. The MP5's downside is reload and everything, like, and it's reload and its mag capacity. The P90 is just the same gun without those downsides. So the MP5 I could not put in S tier. I couldn't put it in the same tier as the P90. You just couldn't do it. But yeah, that's where I put the MP5. Trying to think about really quickly. Gonna do the pistols for me right now. No, that'd be rude. I put these in C tier. I wouldn't be using these because of the movement penalties. Current Unica I'm putting in D tier. This is not with the buffs. I will be doing with the buffs later on. This is where I'd be putting everything, and then I'd be putting that in B tier and the Glock in A tier, or like probably like that actually. That's probably how I'd do the pistols really quick. Glock 18 is just really good. I think it's pretty self-explanatory, but pretty much it's very easy to get kills with the Glock 18, and there's no like slowdown or anything, so I just use that. I've not been using the extended mag. If there is one off the top of my head, I think there is, but I just use default Glock, like literally default, with just a sight and like a compensator or something, and no other things. And then the MP443 I found was really good, considering it's the other semi-autos. The other semi-autos right now just kind of suck. MP443 isn't like amazing, but out of all the secondaries, I'd say it's the second best choice. Deagle and RSH-12. The Deagle's really good because it's damage, and its damage is friggin' crazy. Right now, its bullets to kill in the update will be the same, but now you won't just get an extra portion of damage, which was kind of ridiculous. So I am actually okay with a damage of 72 on the Deagle instead of 90. And I think that its running speed is what is putting it in C tier right now, and I want to put it in D tier, but I feel like that's a bias thing, and I feel like I can easily see a world where it's not D tier. So I'm not going to be putting it in D tier, I'm going to be putting it in C tier, and potentially moving up to B later on, but this shouldn't be in the same tier as the Deagle. I don't know why I put it there. So anyways, that's the sidearms. Let's move on. So I think that a lot of you guys will agree with this. I think that most of you will disagree with the L86 and disagree with the M110. I just think that the L86 thing, I'm not going to budge on. It just, like, if you've used it with the heavy barrel, you know what I'm talking about. Like, it's just crazy good. Literally would be the best gun in the game if it was on other classes. M110, I'm also not going to budge on. This is my personal performance with the M110 is S tier. If you guys using the M110 and you can't get S tier, because a lot of you guys said, oh, well, I miss shots with the M110. And if I miss a shot, it's super punishing. That's true. I just don't find myself missing the shots. So I'm not trying to be like, you're bad, I'm good. This is not how it is. I think that just found myself hitting those shots because I needed to, and now I just don't really miss as much. So if you want proof, go check the video and look at the Frugus gameplay. I think I did pretty good with it. But anyways, I put the G36C here, potentially even S tier later on if I use it more. In my next one I might put it S tier, but I think that it should be an A tier. I personally prefer it to the M4. Its DPS is just a little bit faster. Like, you will kill a little bit faster than the M4 with the G36. But I can't remember the other downsides off the top of my head. Perhaps it reloads slower or something, but I just found myself with the G36 getting a higher kills per minute than the M4. Granted, the M4 might be an actually better gun. Like, statistically and unbiasedly, it could be a better gun. Maybe if I was better at getting kills at range and things, the M4 would be better. You know what I mean? For me, maybe I'd do a lot better. But with the way I play and all of my downfalls, I perform better with the G36C. So I'm going to put it above the M4. Let's have a look. I'd put the Scorpion Evo in A tier, potentially, honestly, S tier as well, to be honest. S tier with vertical grip. S tier with vertical grip. Without vertical grip, A tier. I used it with the vertical grip, and the range I can get for that time to kill was insanely good. I actually would put it in S tier. It's kind of tough though, because I do know that with the vertical grip, I could use it on pretty much every map. Without the vertical grip, I could only use it on certain maps, and that would chuck it down to A tier, but I'm actually going to put it in S tier. I know that's controversial, and I can easily see a bunch of you guys disagreeing. I can see people I respect a lot disagreeing with that, but my personal performance with it was really good, so I'm going to chuck it in S tier. Let's have a look. What other guns do I really want to like get out of here? First of all, I'm going to explain the M4 as well. I saw some YouTubers chucking it in S tier, but my personal performance with the gun wasn't good enough for me to warrant it S tier, and I found that a lot of people went, it's good because it's versatile and has good range. I found myself just being better with the AK-74 at range. So for me, the M4 feels like it's worse than the G36 at closer ranges, and the M4's worse than the 74, like the AK, at longer ranges. So I just found myself going, the M4's a mix between the both, but I found that when I used those individual guns, like the AK and the G36, I could just kind of perform their niche better than the M4 did anyway. So I just found myself not liking the M4. I just didn't get good kills per minute with it. It was good to be A tier, but it wasn't as good as the G36 or the AK-74. AK-74 with a heavy barrel mind, getting headshots and things. This gun's recoil is really low, purely because the stat itself is pretty low, just like the M4. It's literally the same if I remember correctly. But the fire rate being lower just by a little bit also helps, in my opinion. Like, fire rate being lower does help with recoil, and I found myself being more consistent with the AK-74 than the M4. It also, I think, reloads faster, if I remember correctly, but AK-74 is A tier. I think it's really, really good. I was really tempted to put it S tier. Old AK-74 was S tier, but like easily. New one, I was actually tempted to put it in S tier, but I think that would be a huge bias thing, and I don't think it is indeed S tier. All the guns in S tier feel by a good margin better to use than all the guns below. So I think that it does not feel as good as these other guns, so I'm going to put it in A tier. Let's have a look at some other A tier guns. I honestly could put the Mark 14 in A tier, I think. Yeah, you know what? I think I could. I think this felt really, really good. I don't know, maybe, I don't know. I think that and the Mark 20 both fit. The SVD, surprisingly, this could be due to personal playing being bad. I actually didn't like the SVD. Old SVD, compared to the other ones, I really liked. I thought the M110 was the old best DMR due to the heavy barrel. Then it was probably the Mark 14 was kind of equal or maybe even better. And then it was the SVD and then the Mark 20, which now it goes M110 by a huge margin is the best. Then I think the Mark 20 and the Mark 14 are sort of similar. I think the SVD is the worst. Granted, SVD being the worst, I could be wrong, and I actually could have way better things. I don't have 1,000 kills with the new SVD, a few hundred with the new SVD, but I still don't have, you know, 1,000. I think I have 500 and something with the new SVD, but I don't know, I just found myself using the Mark 20 and going, and just performing really, really well at long, long ranges, and then up close, I ended up just not really caring that it killed slower. It's just a recoil or something. I was very consistent with the Mark 20 compared to the SVD. Granted, if I got better at recoil and I, you know, got better at the game, the SVD might theoretically be higher than the other two, but my personal right now, I got less kills per minute with the SVD for whatever reason. I don't know the reason, but I got less kills per minute with it. I would honestly say it's A tier, but I just feel weird if all of these guns are in the same category. It feels weird putting them all in the same tier, you know what I mean? Because I do think the SVD is worse than the other ones. But compared to all the guns in the game, I would say it's A tier. I don't know. Actually, you know what? I'm going to keep it in A tier just for that. I may as well get the AK-5C and the Groza out of the way. I would put the AK-5C as a high A tier. I would say I perform better than the G36, but the MP5 I did better with that. So I would put it above the rest of these guns as with my personal performance. I might even chuck these. No, I'll keep those two there. I will keep it like this. Yeah, I would put the AK-5C all the way up here. I do better with the AK-5C than these other guns. I generally feel better using it than these other guns. I generally get more kills using it. I definitely could be swayed. If someone came in and could tell me right now why that is wrong, I'd probably agree with them. I feel, I can sense that is a bias thing that I'm putting the AK-5C above these other guns, but that's where I'm putting it. Groza, I'm going to be putting at the bottom of A tier. I might even chuck it in B tier. I know that feels cursed. I know a lot of you guys are probably like, dude, that's stupid, you know, because this gun's like hella good. But if we're being 100% real here, my kills per minute with this gun isn't that good compared to the AK-5C. And for that, I'm not going to put in the same tier as the AK-5C. I found myself going, man, I hate this first shot recoil because my time to kill up close isn't as fast as I thought it was going to be. Or not up close, but like close medium. And then the reload speed thing really made it so I didn't perform as well up close as I wanted for a gun with that time to kill. So I'm going to be putting it in B tier. I think that the SG550 is a low A tier. I think that the AK, the M4 and the G36... No, you know what? I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm probably going to chuck it here. Probably here in between the AK and the G36C. I really like it. I was going to put it lower. I was thinking something else that was a little silly. I was thinking like, oh, but the AK... I was thinking about how good the AK is and how much I love the AK-74. But then I do sort of think, no, hang on. I use the SG550 and I generally perform much, much better. So I'm going to be putting it above the AK-74. I think that when I imagine my use of the SG550, I generally think of maps like Salhan and Fergus and things where reload speed matters a lot more, and like certain areas on Wakistan. I'm actually not referring to the bridge when I say certain areas, surprisingly. But no, yeah, I think that the SG550 is a really, really good gun. I think it's in a great spot. Its only big downside a lot of people mention is the flash, the muzzle flash, which it just gets buffed and buffed, so it feels good now. It feels like normal now. But SG550 is fantastic. The reload speed on thing is crazy good. The DPS for it is actually, I don't remember the exact DPS compared to the other guns off the top of my head, but when I use it, it feels quick. Now, it might feel faster because it's got low recoil, meaning I don't miss a shot, so the actual theoretical time to kill might not be that quick, but the fact that I hit every shot with it it very often on flesh because it's got such low recoil, makes my performance with the gun really good. So I could be wrong with this placement, but I really do feel like it's one of the best assault rifles. Not the best, the FAL and the AK-5C beat it in my opinion, but it definitely could be directly under those guns. But with the G36C, I have a weird feeling that gun performed better than I think, so I'm actually going to put it above the SG, but I definitely could be wrong. You could switch these two guns. I'll say PP19's A tier. I'll say Chris Vector's A tier. I would say yeah, I'd say that. I think that's good. I think the PP19's A tier, its reload speed is so fantastic. It's just really, really good. I think that its range is also really understated. I think that the MP5's range, I think that these two guns kind of compete similarly at the longest ranges. But I'm going to put the MP5, really I do feel like is a better PP19 in so many ways. But it's also like the MP5's in a weird state because it's just a worse P90. It's like, it's hard to not say the PP19 has something, but in reality, if I was using the MP5 and using the PP19, I perform better with the MP5. But the PP19 I think does have a lot of utility. Someone said that to me the other day, and I fully agree with their position. I actually had a similar stance before that conversation, and I do agree. I think it's got a really good utility. I think it's just has a really, like, a lot of range and a lot of good, and the reload speed thing is just nuts. Like, if you run closer range maps, the lower DPS up close than the MP5 is made up for by the fact that its uptime is fantastic. But anyways, yeah, PP19 good. Chris Vector's A tier. I don't even know why. I think it's just the whole like 36 round mag is really, really good for that fire rate. I used it and it felt like an A tier performance, so I'm going to be putting it in an A tier. I don't have a good explanation for that one, so you could leave a comment for the Chris Vector and tell me it's B tier, and you could convince me. If you told me it's S tier, I wouldn't believe you, but if you told me it was B tier now, you could definitely convince me, but I'm going to be chucking it in A tier. I would say the PP19, I would say on average I do better with the PP19 than I do with the DMRs. But I also think that my playstyle, I generally, if I was the best player, I might put it above the AK and things, but I generally find myself being better with the AK and the M4 than the PP19 on average. I also think that a lot of these guns, there's a lot of A tier guns by the way, when you use all the guns like a lot, you find that actually all of them are really good. Like you can do a really good performance with these guns. ACR, I think is going to make a lot of people sad, and I think that the people who made the changes to this gun aren't going to feel happy, but I'm actually going to be putting it in B tier. Old ACR probably put in C tier, or maybe even, not D tier, it's not that bad, but right now I'm going to be putting it in B tier. I think that it performs a lot better than it used to. The movement speed thing is really nice. Honestly, I actually think, even though the bullets to kill weren't that different if I remember correctly, or different at all if I remember correctly, I don't know why, but I felt like post its damage buff, it felt like it was doing more damage. Maybe it's because I was more experienced with recoil and so I hit all my shots a lot more, but it felt really good since its buff, its movement speed and damage buff. I don't think the damage was the actual reason it feels better, but it just happened to feel better after that buff, and I think that is due to recoil, me being better at recoil now. But yeah, I'd put that in B tier. I think it's a really good gun. I'd say it's worse than the M4 and the G36C, but I'd say that the G36, the M4 and the ACR are in like a weird triangle where it feels like the G36 is the higher damage, worse peripheries, as in like recoil and reload speed and things. The M4 is medium damage, medium peripheries, and the ACR is low damage and high peripheries. And right now, I value the damage more than I value the peripheries, like recoil, reload, and running speed. I value raw DPS over that to this degree, where I put the ACR in a lower tier to the others. HK419 I put in B tier. I do think this gun is underlooked. I'm surprised at how little people use this gun, but sorry about all the clearing throat. I do believe that it is worse than the AK-74. I think it's the AK-74, but just worse. It's literally the same gun, but with slightly slower time to kill, but with slightly less recoil, and I want to say faster reload. It could be so. I'm going to alt tab and check right now. I'm actually going to alt tab into the game and have a look. Sorry about that. I will edit all those coughs out. If you're thinking right now, edit what coughs out, that means I've done my job. Yeah, it's a slightly faster reload. I do remember correctly. Yeah, I just find myself competing better with the AK than the HK. I put a heavy barrel on both really, but yeah, no, I think the HK, look, let's be real here. Slightly worse AK probably means it's still A tier, but I am gonna put it in B tier because if I kind of feel like if there's a directly better version of the gun, it can't be in the same tier. It just feels wrong, you know what I mean? So I'm going to be putting in the tier below, but in reality, if we were looking objectively and we didn't care about the feelings of same gun equals not the same tier, it probably would be A tier, but I'm going to be putting it in B tier because of the AK-74 thing, but it does perform like an A tier gun. Honestly, you know what, let's just do it. Let's just try to break all the boundaries of a tier list. And if we're doing the same thing, I actually might chuck this back down, and I might chuck... The DMRs are so map based in my opinion in terms of these two, but I'm going to be keeping them in A tier. I'm going to put the SVD down, thinking about it. I'm going to put it down. Maybe do the AS Val next. I'll say that's A tier. I thought it was fantastic. It's even approaching S tier, to be honest. I would put this, I perform better with this gun than I did with the AK-5C. I think that is random. I think that my faults as a player don't come out with the AS Val because of its reload speed when I run Assault, Grip, and Quick Mag on it. I just think that my faults as a player aren't shown when I use this gun, and that's why I perform better. An interesting thing, I'm really quickly going to mention this. I watch this YouTuber, Wahujun, who's a Valorant coach, and I think his stuff's very interesting. This is a thing where, let's say if you've played Valorant, you know the operator Sova is really, really bad on split because there's so many rooftops on A and things, and there's so much contested ground that you'd want to use Sova on that have rooftops, so his abilities don't work because his have to kind of fall from the sky because he does lineups and things. People who are really bad at using abilities in Valorant, if they play Sova on split, they actually end up having, this is going to sound crazy, have a higher win rate on split because their downsides as a player don't come out at all. So it's like they only have upsides when they play split. It's so random. But people who play Sova on split, who are kind of crappier at the game and in lower ranks, have really high win rates. I've got a feeling this AS Val thing is like that. I've got a feeling that me as a bad player, the reload speed as with Assault using this gun, and also just the alright DPS, I think that my downsides of being bad with a long reload don't come out when I use the AS Val, and that's why I perform better with it. You might put it lower than the AK and stuff, I don't even know, but my personal performance makes it feel like an A tier. I would have to have a really good look at the gun and try to objectively look and figure it out later, but honestly I would find it hard. Please in the comments tell me if you think the AS Val should be lower or higher, but I would put it here below the MP5, and I might even chuck the Chris Vector higher as well, to be honest. I might even chuck it here. Thinking about it, I don't know, I haven't used the Chris Vector in ages. I might do that. I don't know, the Chris Vector's a weird one for me. I feel like my brain is not clued into the Chris Vector. I know I used it a bunch post nerf because I just didn't, I don't know. Yeah, I might actually chuck the Chris Vector up here in front of the AK-5C. I don't know, it feels weird. Maybe like this, maybe like this. Yeah, there we go. Anyways, so I know I changed this tier list a lot, but I'm thinking a lot more mid doing it. I said earlier that I did a practice one, and look at me still changing, But anyways, AS Val I would chuck here. Yeah, I think there's a lot of guns in A tier right now, but I also think that that's just how good the balancing is in this game. Honey Badger I'd say is A tier as well. I would say a lot of people tell me it performs really, really good, but my personal performance with it was probably similar to this. I would say I performed better than with these other good guns. I performed a little bit better, but I would say I didn't perform as well with the AS Val. But the Honey Badger, speaking of, I ran the same sort of builds on the Honey Badger, and the fast reload on that thing was really quick too. Honestly, this could be my most contested place right here, Honey Badger. I would say that I personally know that I don't know enough about it right now, and with the amount of knowledge I have. You guys let me know if you'd be higher or lower. Now we're getting to some of the guns that are going to be easy to place here. AK-15's A tier. I think that if I were doing the compare it to other guns in this tier thing, I'd put it here because of the AK-5C and the FAL. But I'm going to put it in A tier. If I'm going to be 100% honest, my performance is A tier with it. My performance with the Scar is only B tier. Now, granted, I believe that its body shot thing is actually quite helpful. The 3-shotting normal armor is actually quite helpful, so I'm going to be putting it in A tier as well. The extended mag, if it didn't slow you down again, that would definitely be another advocate for putting it in A tier, but whatever it is, what it is. I'm putting in A tier. I don't want to fill this thing up with A tier guns, but let's be real here, a lot of these guns are A tier. FAMAS post buff, I actually don't know. I haven't used the FAMAS much post buff. I think I've got 20 kills on it or something. But honestly, I was a really big advocate for old FAMAS with heavy barrel. I thought it was fantastic. I loved it. I would probably put that in A tier too. I'm going to be chucking it in B tier here. No, it's I want to put it in A tier, but I feel we have so many A tier guns. Look, I'm going to put it in B tier. I'm going to put it in B tier. I do believe my performance with the FAMAS, it doesn't feel as easy to get those kills. I am going to be putting it in B. In my next tier list, it could definitely be high A, and I don't know enough about post-buff FAMAS. Pre-buff FAMAS, I would say, is B tier. Definitely could contest on it being in B tier. M249 I feel like is so close to S tier, but I don't think it is. I would actually put it, this is going to be cursed as hell, putting it above the M4. I think it's going to be cursed as hell. But because the support guns are only on support, it's so rough to balance them. So I've never like used it side by side with like an M4 and having all the same stats. But the M249 I feel like is really good. I might put it I'll put it above the PP19, underneath the M4. I don't know. It's such a good gun though. Like I used the 100 rounds is so hard to like understate how good 100 rounds actually is. Like it's so good. I'm definitely going to move that later. We'll see. MG36 I'm going to be putting in like A tier as well. I'm going to put it in B tier, honestly. I found that the DPS 4 recoil was not as good a trade as like the AK5C or something. Like it felt worse than the AK5C for whatever reason. And the reload wasn't that good on it in terms of speed and things. I'm going to put it in B tier. I might even chuck it in C tier in a minute. We'll see. UMP currently I put it in C tier. I think it's alright. I don't think it's like... No, you know, I would put it in B tier. Ultimax I would be putting in... I'd say B tier. I'd say I perform better with the Ultimax than the MG36 now, which is kind of crazy to think about. Honestly, I perform very similarly with these two guns, but for very different reasons. Ultimax has really good range now. I wouldn't say it's A tier. I don't know. Maybe it's A tier. I don't know. But I'm going to chuck it here for now. All I'm going to be putting in C tier. I am not taking into account the helicopter destruction on this gun because in OCE we just flat don't need to do it that much. I haven't versed a good helicopter in a very long time. Not one that I can't kill just by killing the pilot with all these other guns, so I'm not going to be putting the AUG up higher. But I think if you factored that in, you might even chuck it up to B tier, but I'm going to put it on C tier. I think that the SG550 does a lot of the things the AUG does, just better than the AUG. I personally would really like to see... This is not factoring in the helicopters. This is not factoring in helicopters. If the helicopters thing, I wouldn't do this, but not factoring in helicopters, I would make its default make size like 35 instead of 30, and then make the hybrid one a 40 rounder instead. I'm probably never even going to pick the slightly bigger one because of the movement speed thing, to be 100% real as well. I'm probably only ever going to pick quick mag, but that could be a terrible change because of the helicopters thing. That could be an absolutely terrible change. So, anyways, last gun, PP2000, I performed like this. I would say I do better with the Groza and the FAMAS, but than I do with the PP2000, and I'll put it at B tier here. I could be overlooking something. It could be an A tier gun, but when I used it, it didn't feel A tier enough. It felt pretty good though. Not gonna lie, it felt pretty good. I would say it felt better than the HK419, to be honest. For no good reason, to be also honest. But I did play better with this gun than I did with the HK. I played better up close than with the PP19. You know, I want to put it in A tier. I think it has a surprising amount of range. I'm actually going to put it in A tier, and I think that the Groza in reality should be A tier, but I am going to stick with it because of the AK5C thing. I think this is my tier list. I think we have a lot of A tier guns. I think that's really good. I think the balancing has been fantastic from the devs. We have a lot of A tier guns here, and a few of these B tier guns could move up. I would like you guys to argue with me about guns in A tier that should move down. Because if we're really looking at all the guns as like we're comparing them to each other, this would look a little bit different. But like, I think objective measure, this is getting closer to like objective measure here, with a lot of guns being in A tier. I think that is just realistic. I think the AUG probably could be B tier, honestly, but I'm going to keep it in C tier. But I think it definitely could be. It's fantastic. This is really, really fun to do. I think this is a pretty good tier list. I might redo this again, just not like the whole thing, but just do a quick little final thing of it. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this tier list, and I know it's a lot more boring than normal because it's just me talking, but this is where I would put the guns. This is where I'll put them. I think that a lot of them perform really, really well, and I think the B tier is still good. I think C tier is average, like average as the heck, like the gun is hard to use, but you can still do good kind of thing is C tier. D tier is the gun is hard to use and I don't do as good. So, you know, yeah, it is what it is. But S tier are the best. A tier are really well performing guns that don't feel bad to use at all. Like they just kind of only have upsides. MP5's the only real outlier for that because it's it does have a downside. Like its mag size and its reload is its downside, but its DPS is just so good that I gotta put it there. I might even put it lower in my mind, really. I might even put it under some of these guns. But no, anyways, yeah, this is my tier list. I hope you guys enjoyed, and thank you guys so much for watching. I had a load of fun doing this. Thank you very much.